Sorry to interrupt this video for this awesome giveaway. All right, guys. So we're giving away some Vortex binos. You look like you could use some free binos. Do you like free binos? Do you like free hunting gear? Well, you're in the right place. We're gonna give away a lot of it. We're gonna start with a pair of Vortex binos. So in order to win these Vortex binos, it's not that hard, guys. All you gotta do is like this video, subscribe to the channel, and you can even comment below for extra entries. So we're gonna be giving away a pair of Vortex binos for now. But don't worry, if you don't win the Vortex binos, we're gonna keep giving stuff away. We're looking to ramp this channel up fast. So the faster we get more subscribers, the faster we start giving away stuff. Do you want a new bow? We're gonna be giving away a new bow. There's a whole list of things that we're gonna be giving away. This is just the first. So if you get entered now, you're gonna be entered for all future giveaways. So like I said, guys, we're gonna give away a pair of Vortex binos very soon. We only got a handful of subscribers to go until we get to our goal. When we get there, we're gonna announce it. We'll probably do another video announcing who the winner is and give away some free stuff. So if you guys want a pair of Vortex binos, maybe a bow in the future, or a lot of other cool gear, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're liking these videos and also comment for extra entries. So simple as that. If you like free stuff, do it. Whew, this is a hot topic, guys. Let's face it. Not everybody can afford the 200, 400, 120 acre parcel. You just can't. Life kind of gets you sometimes. You got a lot of things that you gotta stick some money into, and sometimes the wife isn't overly happy if you decide you go and buy 200 acres behind her back. So the best you can do is 10 acres, 5 acres, 20 acres, 40 acres. And you want to have success on this property, because otherwise, let's face it, why are you buying it anyway? I mean, you don't want to just buy a property just to have something. You want to make sure you buy a property that is the right property, or maybe you already have that property. Maybe you got permission on that property. There's a couple different things that you need to do to ensure that you have success every single year. And the bare bones of the property need to be there. And the size of the property is going to determine which variables of the core 3 variables, which I will get into, this property is going to need. And there is a hierarchy between those variables, and those variables are the food, cover, water. There is a hierarchy. There is an order, or we'll call it an order, in which these things should be on that list of importance when it comes to the property, the small property that you have. Like I said, it might be 5 acres. I literally have a 5 acre parcel, guys, and I'm not lying to you, that consistently, yearly produces 140, 50, 60 inch deer. Now don't get me wrong, the thing that makes this property special is it's in the right area. I can't just create a perfect 5 acre parcel in the middle of a hayfield and expect it to be great. I mean, it could be. You gotta look into all the other variables there. What are neighbors like, and do people hunt around there? But sometimes it only takes 5 acres, and this is one of those situations. So how do you make this 5 acre parcel the ultimate big buck haven? In reality, you're not gonna hold all the bucks all the time. There is a chance that you might hold a handful of mature deer in the area during different times of the year, though, because a lot of times these mature deer in general don't necessarily travel a lot. This was true for a buck that I chased for a handful of years and had endless encounters with on about 5 to 10 acres, 150 inch deer, 5-6 year old deer, shot at them numerous times, passed them numerous times. It's all possible on these small parcels, but like I said, they got to be in the right place and all these other things. So how do you actually do it, guys? How are you going to hold these deer? Well, first and foremost, the bare bones have to be there. And if you only have 5-10 acres, I'm leaning on one of these variables in the food, cover, water hierarchy, and it's cover. Given the situation, if everybody else has cover around, maybe it has to be food. You guys got to weigh out these options. But most times I'm leaning on cover. Why am I leaning on cover? Because a lot of times cover gives you the best of both worlds, or all 3 worlds really. When you have cover, and whether you're buying the property and you decide to cut everything down and clear cut it, select cut it, and create that cover, and there's a lot of different ways you can create that cover: prescribed fire, timber stand improvement, planting of screens, things like that. However you do decide to create that cover, or whatever fits your property, cover basically is something that I lean on. So there's a lot of different ways you can do it, but cover is something I'm leaning on because you only have so much room. But now creating this cover creates food, it creates cover, and it actually creates water, and that's why I like to lean on cover the most. I talked about this in the video, how to kill a buck on 5 acres, I think, too. But basically, if I have cover, I have food, and I have water. So if you have cover, you did your timber stand improvement, or you got permission on the right property that's only 5-10 acres and it's got a lot of cover, you have the cover. Obviously, we understand that concept. If you have cover, you have cover. If you got thick brush and nasty, you know, cedar thickets or anything like that, you have the cover already. And cedar thickets, I'm actually not a huge fan of. We'll get to that in other videos though. There's just not a lot of great nutritional value from a browse standpoint on cedars or things like that. But if you have good woody browse on that property, you also have food. If you have woody browse at the deer's level, they're gonna nibble on it, they're gonna browse on it, they're gonna eat it. Okay, now we got cover and food just like that, guys. And we also got water. I've talked about this a handful of times, but there's a lot of water content within natural browse when it comes to whitetail deer. Whitetail deer get about 90% of their water consumption through natural browse. You don't need a big pond. Everybody's like, I need to put a pond on my property. I got to dig these watering holes. No, you don't. Deer made it a long time over the evolution of you know, the history of whitetails without, you know, having destination water sources. Don't get me wrong, there are times of the year in which I would probably hunt over a water source. When it's simply a cool spot for a deer to come lay, or even sip on some water to cool down in 90-degree heat, and sure, maybe I'll hunt over water then. But nonetheless, that's getting off topic a little bit. But if you have cover on these tiny properties, you have food, cover, water. So in that 5-10 acre, 15 acre parcel, maybe even 20 acres. Once I start getting to 20, I'm gonna start adding other things, and you might be able to do it on the smaller parcels. But if you add or have cover on that property, that is the #1 variable that you need to have for the perfect property. Now, there are going to be other things that you're gonna have to do as a hunter to make sure that you have actual luck. And I'll get to those a little bit later on in this video. But let's say we're dealing with like that. We're getting about 20 acres, maybe 15, depending on the property, 20 to 40 acres. Now I'm recommending you also squeeze in an actual planted food source in that property if you can. Why? Because having the cover is great, but unless, okay, so if I'm on a really small property, we're gonna figure out the pattern of that property, why deer move through it the way they do, pretty easily, because there's not a lot to figure out. We're gonna be able to make sense of it pretty easily. Now you start getting into 15, 20 acres plus, it gets a little bit harder. There's more trails, more places for you to keep an eye on, and try and make sense of why deer are doing what they're doing. So let's create that pattern. Let's create that pattern through putting a food source on the property. It might only have to be a 1/4 acre clover plot. Obviously, if we got 40 acres, we can do a little bit more. But if you only got 10 acres, 15 acres, maybe that's all you can do. And if we can do that, at least we're creating some sort of pattern. Well, how are we creating a pattern, Brett? Well, if we have food, a destination food source, or at least a food source between, you know, between the destination food source and the bedding, which you hopefully have because you have the cover now, we're creating a pattern. Maybe that deer's heading to your little clover plot, then heading out to the destination food source. Maybe you're the only clover plot for 20 miles because you're in the big woods, and you're the only green food source. You're the only palatable food source at that time of the year. Now we got a little bit of a pattern. Now we can at least occasionally sit on this clover plot, and or whatever the plot might be, whatever you decide to plant, and we can bank on some sort of pattern. It is likely that a deer will do something that we can at least semi-predict sometimes, because we have a food source and we have a bedding area. So if we have those, there's no reason, if a deer is in those bedding areas, that you shouldn't be able to kill them. Use cell cameras. Use cameras, and I definitely recommend using cell cameras on these small properties so that you can basically do the most important thing, which I said I was going to get to in this video: stay out. I mean, you can make all the improvements in the world, guys, and I know these guys personally, and they got 5-10 acres and they love it, and it's a great tiny piece, and they could kill a big buck on it every year, but they can't help themselves. They can't stay out. Probably the most important thing that you can do is stay out, or stay out as often as your access allows you to get in there. Or basically, if you had dynamite access, go in there 100% of the time, hunt 100% of the days. If there's a 0% chance, you got an underground tunnel that you can't, get busted out of. But for the most part, you can have that 5-10 acre parcel, and it could be thicker than thick. You could have that 15-20 acre parcel, and it could have the food source. But if you go in there and you overhunt it on the wrong conditions, and you do it consistently, you're educating deer. That's 100% what you're doing. Even if you don't get busted on your hunt, you're dragging scent into that location. And I will tell you from experience right now that on those 5, 10, 15 acre parcels, you cannot get away with it consistently. You might get away with it once, but it doesn't take much to move a deer off of 5, 10 acres. So don't go in there until the time is right. And what does that mean? What is the right time? Well, that's why I said put cell cameras in there. Don't always bank on them. If that deer shows up at 1 a.m., that still could mean that deer is in daylight, but use it as a tool to make sense of, all right, he's in the area. All right, he's here, he's there. And you never had to step foot in that property. You never had to go check an SD card or do anything like that. You're on the property, but you're really not on the property making an impact on the property. Get those cameras in there, put a solar panel on them. I'm using Exodus cell cameras. The Exodus Render by far is my favorite camera, 5-year warranty. We talk a lot about those cameras. That's what I'm using all the time, guys. So if I go and I put one of those in there in September, throw a solar panel on it, or August or July, there's a good chance it should last me until January. And it might last me a full calendar year. I've had cameras do that too. So go in there, create or find the perfect property. Get permission on the perfect property. Look for these variables. If you bought the property, the 10, 15 acres, let's build it accordingly, kind of like I stated. But more importantly, guys, stay out until the time is right. There's a good chance that the time might not be right until, I don't know, November. It really might not be. Maybe you go out there opening day and then you leave it from there, because everybody else they're not gonna have the patience that hopefully you have as a property owner or somebody with permission. They're gonna go in, they're gonna start pushing deer around. And that's what would happen on this 5-acre parcel that I speak about. I had a year where I didn't go in there till November. It was dynamite. Numerous 150-inch deer. Once again, it was in the right area. But then the following year, I overpressured it. I didn't listen to my own advice, and the bucks showed up, but I'd say about 50% less. And it was noticeable, and it was because I was pressuring it, plain and simple. So you got to keep that in mind. You can create the ultimate small whitetail parcel, guys, but if you pressure this parcel, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. So at the end of the day, it is possible if you have 5, 10, 15, 20, 40 acres to have deer on your property consistently, and mature deer, and have luck killing them. But 1, you got to have the right property. 2, maybe build the property. But 3, have the patience, guys. So remember these things when you're trying to kill big bucks on small pieces of ground. And with that being said, guys, if you like these videos, if you like talking about small properties, or if you just bought a big property, habitat improvements, hunting strategy, anything like that, make sure you're liking and subscribing to the channel. We're dropping a lot of content a couple times a week for you guys. So if you want to keep up to date with it, like and subscribe.